Today, this is what we're going to do. We're going to review Liberty reports for Sage Estimating. We're going to look at some report templates that come with the system. And we'll take a look at those standard reports, and we'll create a report from scratch ourselves. We'll share a few best practices with you, but one of my main goals is to inspire you and to get your creative juices flowing so that you see that you can create your own reports and how that might work for your company. Liberty Reports, first of all, it's been around for a while. It's been around since 2001. It's a proven solution. It's easy to learn, set up, and use. You do your reporting within Excel, and so you are using you leverage your existing Excel skills. You use Liberty Reports to grab the data, and then you use Excel to analyze it and format it. Very nice way to do things. Again, you are using the existing skills you already have. It extends data management. It plugs into a variety of application databases, and Sage Estimating was recently added about a year or a little more ago. Liberty Reports for Sage Estimating is tailored to Sage Estimating, which makes some elements easier to use, like it automatically links tables. You don't necessarily need to know structured query language or SQL, and you don't necessarily need to know the data structure, but just to be 100% upfront, you do need to know where the data lives. But in my experience, you can kind of look at the tables and where things are stored, and you can kind of make some good guesses. And so with some experience, you'll be able to grab the data you need up fairly easily. It comes, Liberty Reports for Sage Estimating comes packaged with pre-built reports. More about that as we go along. It allows you to allocate add-ons and combine items, and it does respect Sage Estimating security, for instance, who can access which estimates, etc. It is interactive, collaborative reporting and analysis, and it will save you time, which is always a big plus. So right now, you create an estimate, and maybe you configure the spreadsheet, and you export that spreadsheet to Excel. That's what we can do now. Is Liberty Reports the same thing? And the answer to that is emphatically no. It is entirely different. We're not going to work like that. It is Liberty Reports is going to be a little bit different. We are going to take an estimate, and when we export data to Excel, like we can do now, the data is static. We want to do something with it, like add formulas or charts or graphs. We need to do that. We can do that in Excel after the export, but to do it to another estimate, we have to recreate all of that from scratch, and that's very time-consuming, obviously. Liberty Reports is a live connection to Excel, and so you can. With Liberty Reports, it's a live connection, like I said. You create the report, and then you can refresh the data whenever you come into the designer or the report generator. You can, like I said, you can reuse the existing report. So you're creating a report once and using it over and over and over again with different data. And I'll show you that as we go forward here. And again, you can leverage your existing Excel skills like sums and calculations and percentages and formatting and conditional formatting, and you can use those right away, right now. And so you can create reports with Sage Estimating data embedded. And you know, if you've used Excel for any length of time, you know it's a very good reporting tool. The key, however, is connecting it to your data and making it interactive as well. And so you can recreate your data, refresh your data, and you don't have to recreate the wheel every time, which is just a really great way to create reports and things like that. So these are some of the reports that we can create in that come with Liberty Reports, both the standard report license and the designer report license and the designer license. So we'll discuss licenses at the end, but these reports come standard with the system. So the first one is the Spreadsheet Viewer. You can see it allows you to view the spreadsheet here in Excel, and it also allows you to use your Excel functions like grouping and ungrouping and other things as well there. We've got the Spreadsheet Explorer. And this one is pretty cool too, in that it creates that graph, that chart up front that tells you your different percentages of coverage in each of the major divisions. You can see the CSI divisions are down below as well. There's 3,000 for concrete and 6,000 for wood and plastics. And what this report does is it allows us to drill down. And so we can drill down through those links on the left there, the 3,000 or the 6,000 or 7,000, and we get this. So we can drill down into individual phases in our estimate and see where the detail is there. And we can drill down from there as well. You can see in phase 3111, we can drill down again and see the items in that phase. And so we can start to drill down, and we're also, again, in this, you can see up in the top there that we have a chart that displays the labor, material, and subcontract costs for this particular group phase. And so we're able to create these kinds of reports in Liberty Reports. We also have an estimate search, which can be really handy, especially if you have a whole bunch of estimates. And so you can enter in your search parameters, like on the screen at the left, and then it'll give you results similar to those on the right. And so you can do your searches, and you can do many different types of searches. So search by project type and project address. Show me all the garages in Washington State, for example, or something like that. Or show me all the garages in Washington State that have an MWBE requirement of something or other. Lots of things you could do to utilize this standard report that you receive when you purchase Liberty Reports for estimating. Last of all, we have proposals. And so the proposal on the left comes with Liberty Reports. It's a standard detailed proposal. And so this is what, comes out of the box right there. You can put your company name, your company logo on it, really easy to do. And all of these reports, this one especially, I think, can be used not only as a final thing, but also as a starting point for you to create reports on your own. So if you want to do a proposal and you're going, my proposal's a whole lot like that one there on the left, I just need to do X and Y and Z. Maybe I need to change the colors and add my logo or something like that. You can do that and use this as a starting point. The proposal on the left is one that I created from scratch. And so you can do that as well. You can see that it's pulling the project name, the client name, the scope of work, and down at the very bottom there, the price, along with a couple other things directly from the estimate. The rest of it's all boilerplate. So it allows me to create a proposal very quickly, pulling information from the estimate, notes, and other areas as well to create my proposal. This is a real simple one, but that's another option you can get, is create a proposal form for yourself, your company, in Liberty Reports. So those are some of the examples that we'll look at later on. Just wanted to give you kind of a heads up of where we're heading. So Liberty Reports, of course, it's going to improve your accuracy, because you're not going to fat finger anything. You're going to get the data directly out of Excel, and once you get it set up in that template, it's going to be the same data for each estimate that you grab from then on. You're going to save time, because you're going to create a report, and that report you're going to use over and over and over again for different projects at different times. And you're going to gain insight into your data if you create those kinds of reports that show you where are we in the process, what's going on. You can gain insight into your estimating data. All right, so differences. We're going to talk about, if you are familiar with Sage Estimating Pervasive, the older version of estimating, you'll know that it was file-based. So we had the PEE file, and the PEI file, and the PES file for different kinds of. Each estimate had its own PEE file. The PEI was items, and PES was standards file. That's how it was based in the pervasive days, which ended a few years ago. For now, we are SQL based, and so it is a database based. The database information is held in tables, not in files, and so there are estimates, and one database. Everything is stored in one database, the SQL database. And so data is stored in tables. And so in Sage SQL Estimating, and one of the reasons we like SQL Estimating is because it makes it much easier to grab data for different estimates and data information from that SQL database versus the pervasive database. And Liberty Reports for Estimating is one of those products that we now have available to us because of the move to SQL. So SQL holds data in tables. Here's some of the tables that are in the estimating database: add-ons and alternates, assemblies, crews and estimates and items, phases and WBS codes. So this is where data is stored in a table, and this is kind of what a high-level graphic of what a table looks like, just so we're all on the same page and working from the same information here. So data is stored in columns and rows, and it looks a lot like Excel, really. We got the estimate ID and the name, when it was created, and the branch ID. And one of the key things we have is a key field, and the estimate ID field is in the estimate table. That is the key. When you think of an estimate, you think of the name, probably, like I do. When Sage Estimating when the program looks at an estimate, it looks at the estimate ID, that number that it is referring to. And so we'll get into this. We'll see this later on in Liberty Reports as we get to creating a report. But keep estimate ID in your mind and know that it is how Sage identifies an estimate. We have multiple tables. So we have the estimate table, and we have the cover page table, and we have the item table. And each one of those fields contains the estimate ID. And this is what ties things together. So the estimate ID in the estimate table references the cover page information in the cover page table, and it also references the item information in the item table. So the estimate ID, that key field, is what ties everything together. Parameters. Parameters are questions. They're questions that we ask about the data. We're going to use Liberty Reports to get the data, and we're going to use Excel to arrange and analyze, summarize, and format the data. So here we've got, again, the estimate ID. What is the estimate ID? What is the estimate name for that estimate ID? There's another one. We got a different name. Or when was that estimate created? So we've got all of that information that we can get and question about our data. And so we've got in summary, then we can take Liberty Reports kind of sits between estimating and Excel, and we use Liberty Reports to grab the estimate information and bring it into Excel. The good news is, though, again, we can use that same report that we created in Liberty Reports, whether we're using it for one estimate or 100 estimates. We can use that same report over and over and over again, leveraging the work we've already done. Okay, so let's go in and that's enough PowerPoint for one morning. Let's go in and see what we can actually do. So I'm going to do this and minimize this. All right, here we are. So this is the Liberty Reports desktop. When you purchase Liberty Reports, you would automatically get this. And these are the standard reports for Sage Estimating. You can see I also have some reports for Sage 100 Contractor. And this is the Sage Estimating reports that we're going to look at here this morning. And these are some of the reports that we looked at here already, those screenshots I showed you earlier in the presentation. So let's look at the Spreadsheet Viewer. Kind of start here at the bottom and work my way up a little bit. So the Spreadsheet Viewer, if I double click on that, and we get this. And so it wants to say, it wants connections. It wants to know connections. And so the estimates connection is that one. I'm going to select it. And the address book, it wants to know which address book I want to work with. I've made a connection to my Sage Estimating address book. That's what that is. and we are good to go. Okay, so when you start one of the Liberty reports, one of the estimating Liberty reports from the estimating desktop, this is what you get. You get these 3 tabs across the bottom: the information, the admin, and the report. Information is kind of tells you about it, tells you a little bit about the report. It does say macros are enabled. We do have it. These are all XLSM files because of some of the functionality in them. So we do have that. We have the required data from the estimates and the address book. And then it says how to use the report, which is kind of a handy thing to have. We're going to click the admin sheet. We're going to select the estimate and click the refresh data. And then we can use the report from there. So let's do just that. Let's follow this admin tab, or the directions for using the report, and we get this. Here's the parameters. Remember, that's the questions we're asking about what the report is. And so we want to select the estimate. So we're going to select this, and it gives us a list of our branches. And so I click OK, and it displays the estimates in that branch. So there's our demonstration estimates, and here are my different projects. I'm going to select La Quinta, and it says I can allocate the add-ons and combine items. I'll select both of those, and then the last step it said to do here is refresh the data. So I'm going to refresh the data to create the report. And the report will show up here on this tab over here. Give it a minute to figure that out. And there we go. So here is that report. Now it's pulled all of the data from the estimate, and now it's pulled, obviously, and it's pulled it into Excel. And so this is the current data from that estimate, which is a key point too, is that I can make this data current just by refreshing the report. So I've got this here. Now now I'm in Excel, of course, and so now I can start to use some Excel functions. And over here on the left, you see these. I can group or ungroup things, so I can collapse things down. So if I don't care about site work, I can just click this, and site work kind of goes away, and I can look at concrete. Or I can expand this back up, and I can minimize concrete. This is Excel functionality. It has nothing to do with Liberty reports. It's just part of what we normally do in Excel. I can also start to, excuse me, I can use the filters. And so I can say, you know what, don't select all, just 3,000. And now 3,000 shows. So again, just Excel functionality, and we're back to where we started from. And so I can filter here as well, and I can do anything I wanted to. And so this is a great starting point. If you like this report, awesome. If you want to change something about it, save as and change away. This is a great starting point for you to create your own reports as well. Here's the totals for labor, material, sub, equipment, and other, and the total for the job up here at the top. Little different from what we're used to seeing in estimating, but we have that. We can enter notes in here over on the far right, and comments, and so we can. This is the Spreadsheet Viewer from the Liberty Reports for Estimating desktop. All right, I'm going to close this one down. I'm not going to save it because I want to go with this Spreadsheet Explorer with drill down next. And it's going to look, the first couple of tabs are going to look real similar. Oh, it wants the estimates connection and the address book connection. Got to read those really carefully. And it says macros are disabled, but when it gets, there we go. So now it's ready to go. You can see I have more tabs down here at the bottom. And again, use the admin sheet, click the refresh data to get the report to populate. There's the admin sheet. But let's look at these. Notice that the group phases, the items, the vendors, and the assemblies are all blank. Nothing there, obviously, because I haven't selected an estimate. So I'm going to select a branch here, and I'm going to just say demonstration, and go back to my favorite La Quinta project. And I'm not going to combine items this time so you can see the difference here. Refresh the data on this one, and we will see what we get here with this report. All right, so this is you can see it's on the group phases tab. There's a nice Excel chart explaining the kind of our coverage, our scope coverage with site work and concrete, and yeah, most of our work is in site work. So you can see there, if I just mouse over it, what we're looking at. And so this, again, this was created in Excel based on other information in this report. And so we're using Liberty Reports to grab the data. We're using Excel to analyze it. There you go, right there. And it's a prime example of that. Now, these blue links over here under group phase, those tell me that this is I can drill down. So I can drill down on that, and it takes me to the phase report. There's the phases tab down here at the bottom. And again, this is just like we looked at in that example previous. So I can drill down using those links. If I wanted to drill down to site work or concrete, I can do that just by double clicking on the link. We have another graph up here explaining our labor, material, sub-equipment, and other spread across this group phase of 2000. And I can drill, this is the phase report, so I can see my totals by phase, and I can drill in even farther and see my totals by item. So here is my item, and there's the cost for each one of those items. I can drill into assemblies if I want to, over here, and here is the assembly that item came from. So again, I can really start to drill down. You can use the same function to drill down however you want to, but this is one way this is the way that this standard report does the drill down. All right, let's close this one, and we'll not save that. Let's look at that search estimates. I like that one. That's kind of fun to play with. And so again, we need to establish the database for, I believe that's this one, and we'll go with that. And the address book is that one. And all right, we'll go okay on that. Oh boy, I got the wrong database there. So I'm gonna close this one down. The easiest way to do this, I could probably reselect it, but it's easier just for me to start over again. My bad here this morning. And so the estimating connection, I'm going to select the estimates, and then I'm going to select the address book. And hopefully this one will be better. And so it's thinking. There we go. That's better. That's what I like to see. So,
yeah, if you don't mind me just chiming in on this. So, James, as Jud's been communicating, you have the reports that are in the estimating historically, right? That can run from the menus, and eventually these will be also accessible there from the menus. Utilizing usually like something like Crystal. So this is similar, except it's already in Excel, which is what a lot of people have communicated they want to use a report Excel-based, because they could print it and preview it, but they could also use it to present the information the way they desire, and that's what we're attempting to show you and communicate to you. And in this case, if you're not familiar with the SQL version of estimating, we have a database change. We've talked about that already, but so you want to know where your estimate-oriented database is, or whatever the source of the information for the given report. In this case, it would be estimates. So that's what Jud was talking about, is they're located in where he has them in his presentation environment, and he navigated there to select one or the other. And where yours would be located would be based on how you folks have your estimating deployed. I just want to reinforce that so they see the connection between here and where their data is actually at, because there's a big change between pervasive and SQL.
Yes, there is. Yes, thank you, James. Yeah. Okay, so yes, there's a big difference between how things are stored. Again, you're looking at a database and not a series of folders. And so finding or locating an estimate is in some ways a little easier, I think, because it's all right there in front of you in the database. So again, we're going to look at here, click the criteria sheet, which is a little different. It's not the admin sheet, it's the criteria sheet. And so we're going to do that. The report, of course, is blank. And we're going to say the project name and the type. And I'm just going to say, I've got some in here. I've got some garage, G-A-R-A-G-E, if I can spell it. And so I can enter in garage and who did it, and the estimator and all this other information here. And here's more Excel functionality. I can expand this group of job classification. So I can expand that out in definable field. What do I want to display here? Or what do I want to search on here? Excuse me. Same thing with address. I could say, show me all the garages in Washington State, for example, or New Jersey, whatever I wanted to do. And I could search that way. Cover page headings, if I want to search by that, or company information, bid results, MWBE requirements, whatever you wanted to search on, you could search on. And then when you get that search criteria or those parameters in there, you can click the search button. And so we're entering parameters to questions of the database. And so here it found 3 garages, garage Rev 1, 2, and 3. And you can see here's the information for that. There's the estimate totals and when it was bid. You can also see, if you're looking really closely, that there are some hidden columns up here. So we're looking at F, G, H, and I are hidden, as are these down here. So what I'm going to do is unhide those. And you can see we've got all these definable fields that we can now see, plus the address and cover page headings if we wanted to see those as well. So you can start, there's more information here, and you can show that, or you can hide it back to where we had our nice little report this way. So again, this is the Excel functionality, and what you choose to do with it is what you want to do. So make it your own and go for it that way. So that's the search estimates. Again, you can search on any criteria, and we will not save that one. This is the itemized proposal. So remember, there were 2 proposals on the screen I showed you earlier. And so again, I'm going to get to the estimates connection and the address book connection. And so here is that. Again, admin data, select the desired estimate catalog branch, and then refresh the data. So I'm going to go back here to the admin tab, same thing we've seen before. I'm going to select the branch. I want demonstration estimates, just like a folder you might see in Pervasive, but just it's a branch in SQL. I'm going to select that La Quinta. And since this is a proposal, do I want to have the company address book be the street address or the billing address or like that? Do I want to include a special company logo? Do I want to allocate add-ons and combine items? I will do that. And so then I can refresh the data here. And so we will get our itemized detailed proposal that comes with Liberty Reports. And here it is. So here is Sage Construction, my information coming from my company, a proposal and today's date and who prepared it, and this information here. And here is the information we got, sorted by, in this case, group phase and phase, with individual items displaying here as well. And so there is our proposal. If I scroll down here to the bottom, there's some signature lines and the total amount. So that's the itemized proposal. And again, this could be a great place for you to start to create one that more fits your proposal type. Again, here, look at line 20 is build a 50-room hotel with swimming pool and other things. That is coming from a note, an item note. And so please think of ways you can use those item notes. I'll show you more in the next example, but that's where that's coming from. I didn't type that in. It came from the estimate itself. So the estimate is feeding all of this information directly to the proposal. Right, so we're going to close that. And the last one we're going to look at is my favorite because I created it, right? So we've got Sage Proposal. And it wants the database, Sage Estimating database. This is where I get mixed up because I'm looking at a new version here. And so there we go. So this is a proposal.
To reinforce, if you don't mind, if I could just chime in, Jud. So with the estimating the SQL version, there are multiple databases now. So it's in the pervasive versions that we've historically had, we've got like a PEA and a PEI, and you know the database itself, estimates, PEE, things like that. Now we have three databases: one with estimates, one with the actual database itself, items and everything that is your core database that then gets pulled into an estimate that you create, and then your address book. So there's those three databases. So that's what he's being prompted, is like, what's the source of the information? The report he created, when he created it, he identified what databases he wanted to pull from for the thing he's creating here. And so when someone then utilizes this report, either from a template or what have you, they would be prompted for these things. So that's the same experience you would have if you used a Launchpad template. You would be picking the source for your database because it would be different than the consultant who created it. Or if a report was created for you by like a consultant or whomever, then of course you'd be asked this. If you create your own reports, then you probably are going to be mindful of what the source of the data is that you want to pull into your report and so on. So I just, if you're new to this, I just want to kind of create that that perception, because it's a little bit different, especially if you're new to SQL. And if there's any questions you folks have on that, you could put them in the questions under GoToMeeting, and we can address those. Judd, I just wanted to chime in so that people understood
thank you, James.
what they were
saying. I appreciate that, because I'm there doing some other stuff in the background while you're talking. So
multitasking, yeah.
All right. Yes. So unplanned multitasking. There we go. So what I wanted to show you here is the estimate that created this proposal. All right. So it's obviously very simple. You can see that it has, it's a little bit different here. If you notice, I got 821 feet of 8-foot chain link fence. That says 145 feet. Okay, that's fine. That's because I haven't refreshed this report recently since I did my last demo using this. So keep that in mind, please. But this information, the project, the client, the scope of work, the total, the inclusions and the exclusions are all coming from the estimate. The only thing that's in Excel is the boilerplate. So obviously the total is coming from the total. There's 711084, 711084. The notes are feeding the general note, feeds the scope of work. The exclusions note feeds the exclusions here, and the inclusions note feeds the inclusions here. And so I wanted to show you that, because what I can do now is okay, so I have this estimate that created this report. Obviously, you saw there's a little glitch right
You'll
here.
have to close that, Jud, right? Because with the estimates open,
right. Okay.
you need to close it. But to reinforce what Jud's saying, so he created a report and he pulled information, but he doesn't have the report automatically refreshing every time he opens it. He could. It's just a choice you make, and we'll talk about where that is. But he's showing you the source of the information, and then he's going to show you the ability to refresh, and it's drawn in. So you control when you open something if it refreshes each time or when it refreshes, like what he's about to do, just so that you're aware you have, it could be either way based on what you're doing here. Sorry, Jud, please continue.
Okay, so it doesn't like something here. Oh, goodness sakes.
Is your estimate open still?
Nope, estimate's closed.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. Oh, goodness. Well,
I don't know specifically on this, but what I would do in a situation, right, I would close it and reopen it. We're still dealing with Excel. So Excel has its idiosyncrasies, and Microsoft seems to be introducing these randomly, it seems sometimes. But getting a clean install of Excel. And by the way, when you're using Excel, which many people who know Excel probably know it even better than us, when you're using it, sometimes Excel, even if you close it, it still has an instance of Excel running. So you can go to your task manager and close it, because Excel caches things in memory. And so by closing Excel and opening, you're not necessarily clearing that memory. Often you are, and in this case, I believe he did. But if you run into an issue, things like that can come up. And you'll find we've been doing Excel-based reporting for a long, long time, with Sage since 2001. And so there's an extensive knowledge base on issues that people sometimes encounter in Excel and best practices. You have tens of thousands of concurrent uses of this technology being used by Sage people out there, and this is just an extension of that same capability. So the best practices of all those people apply to, and you benefit from those as well.
All right. So let's try this again. And okay, I upgraded my system, and it's not happy with me right now. So, but know that this always happens when you're doing a demo. And so notice that it has worked flawlessly in the past, where I can refresh this and the scope of work changes to reflect the change. Excuse me, the price changes to reflect the price change, and the inclusions and exclusions also change to reflect any changes that I've made to those notes in the estimate. It's just not working for me today, and so I will have to do what I can to fix that. But know that this does work, and it has worked seamlessly, flawlessly in the past, just not today.
And I have my original one on my machine I could demonstrate in, and we have recorded presentations of this working regardless, but I didn't see the actual message that you got, Jud, that like when you get a new version of Liberty Reports, it should be able to read your database. But if your database changes and it needs to be upgraded, you got to take care of that. Yeah,
it was a message that I'd received during the upgrade process, and I thought we had it fixed. So,
okay.
So we need to go back to support on that one. All right. So let's look at, so that's some of the standard reports that we can have in the system that we come with the system, except for the Sage proposal. That is one that I created. Now let's look at how we can create our own report. And so I'm going to start with this new report for a single estimate. Now, when I start this, what it's going to do is bring up the kind of the Liberty Reports standard tabs, right? We saw that. I'll select that, see what it does there. Okay, all right. So it brings up these three tabs, the information, the admin, and the report. It's going to say, go to the admin tab, select your estimate, and then you can create your report here. We're going to go ahead and kind of follow that along. What I'm going to do is create a report that is kind of a phase summary of all of the information, of the cost information in an estimate. And so I'm going to go to the admin tab, and I'm going to just select an estimate, and we'll just go to demonstration again and pick my La Quinta favorite one. And if we go to the report, you'll see this title, it's picked La Quinta here in line 3. What I want to do is show you here on the admin tab what's done a little bit behind the scenes. So if I right click here and unhide these columns, remember we said when we were looking at the tables is that there's a field called estimate ID. Here is that estimate ID. 10966 is the way that Sage identifies this estimate that I call La Quinta. And so we are going to reference this 10966. We are going to reference it either by the cell reference, which is M14, but better yet, Liberty Reports has assigned a cell name to this cell, and it's called Estimate ID up here in the upper left corner. So we are going to reference a field name called Estimate ID to grab the data for the La Quinta estimate. And I am going to hide those again, so we're back to where we started from. Okay, we're going to go to the report now. This is some information about the report. other databases and things you can do with Liberty reports. There's the information about where the estimate ID right here on line 10. I'm going to delete this information. And what I'm going to do again is a phase summary report. So what I'm going to do is go here to the Liberty Reports tab, and I'm going to query the data that I have in my Sage database. I want to use Sage Estimating, so I'm going to click Next. And here's all of the tables that Estimating stores information in. Assemblies and city cost indexes, and up here at the top is bill cover page information, model information, takeoff units, WBS values and definitions, all kinds of things. I want estimate totals. So I know that I just, from my experience, I know that the information I want is in the item table. So I'm going to select that table. And here is the individual, these are the columns of information available in the item table. Phase code and item description, other things here. And if I scroll down, there's labor and material, sub-equipment, and other things, information as well. There is the labor, let's go labor. Anyway, there it will be, get some, there's more labor there. We'll get the information out of this. So we're going to get our information for totals out of this. What I'm going to do is say I want the phase code, though. I definitely want that. There's the phase code. This is kind of where we're building what we're going to see. So we want the phase code. And now I know that there are labor and material. Let's go down here to labor amount. I want labor amount. I also want material and sub and equipment and other amounts. I could scroll through this list, or I can just say AMOUNT, and it filters it for me. And so now I can say I want material, sub, equipment, and other. Real easy to find that way. Sub. Okay. I also want to take that out of there because, so now you can see I've started to build the report across here. This is just a preview. It's not everything, but it is just a preview. You can see that there are 7,619 rows. We're going to pare that down a lot. I want the phase code, but phase code, I'm not smart enough to know what that particular 1740 phase code is. So I want the phase description along with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the related tables. I'm going to add a table, and I want the phase table because that's where the phase description is stored. Again, just kind of poking around and kind of using logic and going, well, let's try that. And so I want the phase code, and this is the information, the columns of information in the phase table. I want the description. Now I see the description here in the preview down here. That's great. I don't want it way over here on the right. So I'm going to just right here, right now, I'm just going to drag that over there like that. Now it's starting to make sense. I've got the phase code, I've got the description and the labor amount and material, sub equipment and other. Okay, so I've kind of got it organized the way I want it, and I'm getting the data I want. Next, condition. So this condition, if I just ran this report now, I would get every item in every estimate in my entire database. Not what I want. I just want La Quinta over here on the far right. So I'm going to add a condition. And that condition says that the estimate ID, that number 10166 or whatever it was, is equal to a value that's in that estimate ID cell name, 10966. So I've set a condition that says I only want to see the items in that particular estimate. Click OK. I've added a condition. I'm going to go next. Do I want to summarize it? Yes, I do. And I want to summarize it by phase code. That's pretty simple. I can also do sums or average, min, max, or counts as well. Next, do I want to sort it? Absolutely. I want to sort it by phase code, ascending order. Okay, so now it's starting to sort that. You can see this down here is changing just a little bit. And now I get this final screen, the options. I want to definitely insert it as a table that can be refreshed with live data. I could make it static, but that makes it a little tough for ongoing reporting and things like that. I can exclude duplicate rows. I can include the captions, which is something I will do. And I'm going to just finish it with those selections like this. And here's what I get. So here are the phase codes, and I've got the labor, material, sub-equipment, and other amounts here. Okay, now what I want to do is now I can start to use some of my Excel skills. So the phase code, I could just say, I could call this the phase description, and I could just call this labor, material, equipment, other, and sub. Okay, so I can just rename those. I can take these and I can go back here and I can center them. And so again, all Excel kinds of abilities or things that I'm doing. I want to make a background. We'll make it blue. Okay, so and over here I'm going to put total, and I'm going to make that bold, and I'm going to center it. Right, so you know how to do all this stuff that I'm doing right now. Now what I want to do though is I want to get. You notice that I didn't get any totals. That's because Sage doesn't store totals. They store all this other information, and they generate the totals at runtime for a report or for the estimate. And so what I want to do is do a sum. And so I click that. There's my sum for 2315,021. Now I can take this and I can just start dragging this down, right? And it's going to do this for me. Or I could just, another Excel trick is I can double click on that little square in the lower corner there, and it does it automatically for all the rows. And then I can take this row and or these cells, and I am going to format them as money. I'm going to just let's just make sure that we have format the cells. This is the way I have to do it. It's currency, 2 places. I don't necessarily want a symbol just on these. I just want to make sure that they're all those numbers. Now I can come down here. I can say total, and I can auto sum this, and there's my estimate total. All right, up to the top there. Do this. There's the totals. Now I can format this number here, and I can say that it's currency, and it definitely has that, and the font is bold, and I'm going to make it blue just because I like blue, and we are. I'm going to make that bold as well, and there's my report. So you can see it's pretty easy to create a report like this. Sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. One of the advantages that I really like to Liberty reports for estimating is you can reach into multiple data sources. So you can reach into the estimates, you can reach into the data, you can reach into the address book, and you could even reach into accounting if you had the right programs and set up for that. So you can reach into multiple data sources to create one report. This one, we just reached into just the estimating data, but you could reach into as many as you want. All right, so that's how you can create a report. And again, if you have any ideas for reports, please let me know, because I'd love to talk to you about those and see if we can we're creating a list of reports that people would like to see. And so if you do, please let me know, either through the chat or excuse me, or through the chat or later on. So I'm going to do this. So there's lots of options here. I created this new report by starting here with a new report for single estimate. You don't need to. You could just go into Excel, fire up a new workbook, and you're good to go. Go for Liberty reports and start doing your query. You need to identify a few things. There's a few things you do need to do, but you can start right here from scratch if that's the way you want to do it. All right, so with that, we will jump back to the PowerPoint here, and we will go from the current slide. So we just looked at Liberty reports there. So just some more information about Liberty Reports. So Sage Estimating, you do need to be on Sage SQL Estimating. That is a requirement. It will not work with Pervasive. Hopefully you've made that switch. If not, please think about that, especially since we now have the new SQL buyout available as well. So that might hopefully help you make that decision to move to SQL. There are a lot of new features and functions that you can take advantage of, including this one here. So we've got Microsoft Excel 2010, 13, 16, 365 desktop is the one that I've been using today. It is currently 32-bit only. And Windows platform is Windows 7, 10, or the different server platforms 8, 12, and 16. Licensing. So licensing for Liberty Report, there are 2 license types. They are both concurrent. Designer is the one I've showed you here this morning. That gives you the ability to create reports. And so it gives you all that functionality. The standard allows you to run reports created by Designer. So there are those 2 types. And that's what we have for today. Thank you for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And hopefully talk to you soon. Please stay safe and well.